Hey everybody, welcome back. I figured today I would tell you about my testimony, about when I became a Christian, how long I've been a Christian, obviously, because that's how math works, and why I still choose to follow Christ today. There's a lot to the story, and yet it's actually a pretty simple story. Everybody's testimony, their story of how they became a believer, is going to be different. And mine is no exception to that. I became a believer when I want to say 4. I remember being in my mom and dad's bedroom, laying on their bed. I very distinctly remember wanting to ask God if Jesus could come and live in my heart. And so my mom prayed with me, and from that moment on, I was his. Now, 4 is actually extremely young, and it's one of the very first memories that I have from my childhood. When I was 8, I did what's called rededicating my life to God. Again, very young. And yet, I lived in such an incredible home and had such a wonderful Christian environment that never once did I question or really ever stray from believing that God was the creator of the universe and Jesus was his son that came down from heaven to save us. When I was young, I was in Sunday school and helping my dad, who was the music director of their church for 40 something years. I was helping him do music, whether I was part of the choir or part of the children's programs. I was in church a lot. We had Awana on Wednesday nights, and so I got really good biblical foundational teaching that had permeated every moment of my life. Now that I'm older, I realize what a blessing that is. The Bible talks about in several places, the Bible talks about beginning a Christian on their walk, and what they learn and what they intake is kind of like milk, as a baby would start nursing when they're first born, and then they progress and they start eating real food until finally you're up to like the meat. You want the real deep hard stuff, but it really has a lot of substance and it carries a lot of weight. And that I was able to start digging into when I was a teenager. A lot of people who I am friends with didn't become believers until they were in their teen years and or 20s, 30s, 40s. So I'm beginning to see exactly how blessed I really am to have lived the life that I lived. Now, I joke all the time about my perfect little Amy bubble that I lived in, and it really is true. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She took amazing care of us. My dad went to work normal business hours from what I can remember, and he provided for us phenomenally. He took care of us, and really good, stable home that I grew up in, with the church influence, with friends, all of that. My parents were very involved, but not too overbearing in any way. They let my brother and I make mistakes, and we got to experience the consequences of those mistakes in a safe environment. So we didn't really rebel. My brother and I, neither one of us really rebelled in any big way. We never went out and did drugs and, drank and smoked and all that kind of stuff. I never snuck out, anything like that, because I remember thinking, it's not that I was afraid of getting caught. I was afraid of disappointing my parents because I had such an amazing relationship with them. And that was my biggest fear. And that's kind of the way that I view God. And that's kind of the way that I have my relationship with Jesus, is I don't want to disappoint him. I know he'll forgive me. I know that he'll still love me, just like my parents did, even when I make mistakes. And yet I didn't want to break his heart. And the Bible talks about different things that do break Jesus's heart, that break God's heart. I don't want to have anything to do with those things. So as I was growing up in my little Amy bubble where nothing really ever went wrong, I was very well taken care of. We weren't rich, I wouldn't say, but we had everything we needed. My mom taught me to be extremely frugal. Our favorite place to shop was the thrift store. We didn't have to shop there, but we really enjoyed it because we liked giving things a second life and keeping them from ending up in the landfill. And sometimes you could find the most amazing treasures. Everything that you see here, except for my chair, came from a thrift store. Absolutely everything. I love to repurpose and find a new life for these types of things. Now, I got married when I was very young. I was 18, as was he, and was married for 13 years. And because I'd lived such a comfortable life, I didn't really understand what it was like to go through hardship because I never really experienced it. I had been put on birth control pills when I was at the age of 13 because of my awful hormone cycle. And from there, some problems began to develop. I ended up with depression and I ended up with some other things. At one point in time, I remember talking to the pastor's son about suicide. I had never actually intended to do suicide, anything like that, but I wanted the attention. And that certainly got me attention. Things like that. Nothing too major. Again, I didn't do drugs, no alcohol, nothing like that, because I have an addictive personality. And thank you, Mom. I'm just too cheap to support myself and support my habit. So I didn't want to try or start any of those types of things because I was like, I could spend my money on different things. It's fine. So I never even tried any of that. And to this day, I can take a drink, a couple sips of wine, and my face will flush and I'll get red and I will already be tipsy. So I am the lightest of lightweights and I'm perfectly okay with that. So I'd been married for a good while and then everything fell apart and hard stuff started to happen. And frankly, I didn't know how to handle hard stuff. I had no idea. And it was one of those moments where it tested my faith. It really made me take a step back and go, do I really believe what I believe? And why do I believe it? Is it because it was my parents' faith or is it not? So fast forward through the divorce and then I've gotten remarried and included a tiny new human, which was a complete and total surprise. I don't remember, but I guess I signed a paper saying I'd never get pregnant again. I absolutely do not remember that. And so now we have a tiny human who is not so tiny anymore. She is a 9.5 now. And I've been through a lot. Not nearly as much as a lot of other people have been, but I've been through some stuff now. And in that time, I had the chance to really step back and look at what I believe and why I believe it. Is it just because it was my parents' faith? It's my parents that taught me to think this way and believe this. And that's what the preacher said when he was reading the Bible. So that must be true. I really took a step back and I had the chance to examine my heart and my relationship with my Creator. I went through some interesting phases within the last couple of years, really questioning, is this really what the Bible says? Is this really what it means? For example, I did a video previously on muscle testing, and there was a whole series, kind of a deep dive that I ended up doing into the world of energy healing. And there always felt like there was just something inside me nagging, but I couldn't quantify what it was. I couldn't find a reason not to do this. I ended up reading a book that took verses in the Bible and took concepts and blended it with this is totally okay. And for a while, I went along with it. I really did. And I went, I'm gonna just, jump feet first into this. And I really felt like I was walking on a path. There's a mountain over here on this side, and there's a cliff that drops off on this side, and I'm walking on this path. And as long as I'm on the path, I'm good. And so I would kind of get right up to that edge and look over a little bit, but never crossed the line. Never crossed the line. And I thought I was good. I thought I was good. But God started to convict me. I felt like he asked me, why do you want to walk so close to the edge? Why do you not want to walk closer to me? Because he's the mountain. He is our rock. He is our foundation. So why was I walking as close to that edge as I could without falling over? Because if I'm going to trip, do I want to trip close to the edge? Or do I want to trip close to the rock where I can be caught? And that changed my perspective. The more I have learned over the last couple of years about who God really is, has challenged my perception of him, but also of myself. If he really is who I think he is, do I want to walk that far from him, as far as I can get and still be a Christian? Can I do the most good there? Or could I do the most good staying as close to his side as I possibly can? There is a quote that I just heard, and it really seems to encapsulate my thought process. That quote is, "Preach the gospel every day to everyone at every moment, and if needed, use words." I could justify all day long what I was doing and why I was doing it. But the reality of the situation is people, children, others are going to watch what we do more than they're going to listen to what we say. That's where the old adage came from. Do as I say, not as I do. And yet, Dr. Boz, she has a brains course, and in it she talked about mirror neurons. And it's absolutely fascinating. But I learned that mirror neurons are actually far more powerful than we give them credit for being. Her example was children who are born to professional dancers are natural dancers because from the time they were infants, they have watched their parents dance. They have watched the movements. They have watched their practice. They have watched everything. And those mirror neurons make it to where it's super easy for the child to do. So if I'm going to be setting an example for my children, for my family, for you guys here on YouTube, I want to make sure that what I am doing is not misconstrued, that it's not perceived in the wrong way. So I don't do muscle testing anymore. Ironically, it kind of got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. I have friends and family that do muscle testing and they have not had a problem with it. They don't have any convictions about it. And when they have tried to muscle test on me or for me, it doesn't work. They can't. They absolutely cannot get a read on me whatsoever. And I found that fascinating. But in reality, I feel like that's an okay thing. While muscle testing can be a tool that some people can use to good benefit, mine never worked well. And I'm sure that there's a reason for it. And one of these days, I will know what that is. But I don't do muscle healing anymore. I don't do muscle testing anymore. I don't do the energy healing anymore. I don't participate in that at all. Because is there a chance that it's not right up against the line, it's actually stepping over the line? There is, because God's ways are not our ways. We do not understand what he understands. I feel convicted to not use it, to not participate in it, and to not do it anymore. And so I don't. So through everything that I've been through, I've had the chance to really reevaluate myself and my relationship with God, to really get a good look at who he is, why he does what he does, why he says what he says, and how misled the world has been when it comes to the character of God. A really cool little story is actually in Exodus. God was leading the people out of Egypt, and he brings them into the mountains and gets them away. And there's a point in time where, oh, my page is folded, where Moses says, okay, like, but who are you really? Who are you? How do I know you? Like, I don't fully understand. At this point in time, Moses has seen God bring the children out of Israel, God's children out of Israel. He has seen the pillar of fire. He has seen God's incredible plagues that he has sent down on Egypt. And yet Moses is like, but who are you really? So in Exodus 33, it's around verse 12 that this conversation kind of starts. It says, one day Moses said to the Lord, you've been telling me, take these people to the promised land, but you haven't told me whom you're going to send with me. You told me, I know you by name and I look favorably on you. But if it's true that you look favorably on me, then let me know your ways so I may understand you more fully and continue to enjoy your favor. And remember that this nation is your very own people. So the Lord replies and he says, I'm going to go with you. Like, it's me. I'm going to be the one that goes with you. So he says, Moses responds, then show me your glorious presence. He's seen the pillar of fire. He's seen the plagues. He's seen God's miraculous wonders, but he wants to see God's glorious presence. So the Lord replies, I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will call out my name, Yahweh, before you. For I will show mercy to anyone I choose, and I will show any compassion to anyone I choose. But you may not look directly at my face, for no one may see me and live. Look, stand near me on this rock. As my glorious presence passes by, I will hide you in the crevice of the rock and cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will remove my hand and you will see me from behind, but my face shall not be seen. So the Lord does this and he tucks Moses into this little crevice in the mountain and he covers him up and he passes by. It says, then the Lord came down, verse 34:5. Then the Lord came down in a cloud and stood there with him, and he called out his own name, Yahweh. The Lord passed in front of Moses, calling out, Yahweh, the Lord, the God of compassion and mercy. I am slow to anger. I am filled with unfailing love and faithfulness. I lavish unfailing love to 1,000 generations. I forgive iniquity, rebellion, and sin, but I do not excuse the guilty. I lay the sin of the parent upon the children and grandchildren. The entire family is affected, even children in the 3rd and 4th generations. Now, there's something about this that I want to point out. In Hebrew, when you list things in order, the first is the most important. It is the one that you want to put the most emphasis and focus on. So, in God's own words, he describes himself. He says, Yahweh, the Lord, I am the God of compassion and mercy. Slow to anger, filled with unfailing love and faithfulness. However, he does not excuse the guilty. So with this, being the God that I have given my heart to, my love to understanding the creator of the universe. This is who I follow. These are his attributes. And we are supposed to become more Christ-like. That is what the word Christian means, is little Christ. It was actually a slang term given to anybody who professed to follow Jesus. This is what we're supposed to be like. And I want my actions to reflect that. I want you guys to be able to look at me, and without me speaking, I want to be a witness to you. I want to speak life. I want to choose joy. I want to teach my children how to do that, and I want to teach you how to do that as well. So with God as our basis, that is the plan for moving forward with the YouTube channel. I want to answer questions. I want to have deep conversations. I want to get to the meat, the sustenance of who God is, what his word has to say. I'm doing 2 Bible readings right now. I'm actually thinking about doing a Bible study on a live with you guys whenever I get up and running and get myself on a good schedule. I want to really dig deep and find out who the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is. I want to look at all of the messages he has for us. The first 2 chapters and the last 2 chapters. That was God's plan for us. Everything else in the middle here is just us mucking it up and God chasing after us. I want to chase after him. And I hope that you'll come along with me if you want to join me on this journey of getting deeper into God's word and me explaining to you how I see his love in action and everything that is affected by him in my life. I would love to have you join me. So click the subscribe button to follow along with me and turn on notifications so that every time I post a video, you will be aware of it. Thank you so much for listening to my testimony. I would absolutely love to hear yours. You can stick them down in the comments down below. And I will see you guys on the way. I think. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm making it up as I go along. I had no idea what I was going to say today. That's all I got. Yeah. Okay. I love you. Like, I could try moving it over and put it on the floor. I'll try it. Just a second. I'll just try it. Okay, let's see how this works. Wait, what's it sitting on? I don't know what it's sitting on. Hang on. I mean, like, is it really any different? I just did all that work for nothing, probably. Need some chapstick. I'm one of those people I can't not dig the chapstick out. Like, I'm gonna get every single little bit out of here. I need to start making my own chapstick because, let's face it, it's not really an all natural product. That's fine. That's fine. So God asks, no. So Moses, hang on. I gotta find it. Give me just a second. I'm not a huge fan of this translation. Okay. So, I needed it. Thank you, my darling.
Yeah. Love you.
I love you, baby. That it is not misperceived? Is that a word? Children who are born